Hello my brothers and sisters of the Order, welcome back to the Order. I am Celtic Templar, and yes y'all, welcome back to another Black History Month video. And today y'all, we are actually talking about none other than the infamous Harlem Hellfighters. Now, I understand that Harlem Hellfighters were a World War I type group, and that I'm wearing an M1 style helmet, which was not used. However, seeing to the fact that Brody helmets and French style helmets of World War I are hard to find these days, so yeah, I just have to go with this. But pretty much, y'all, why don't we get right into the history of the Harlem Hellfighters, shall we? We can understand that the Harlem Hellfighters were founded in 1913, first founded as the 15th New York National Guard, and then reorganized into the 369th Infantry Regiment. However, the majority of these men, in fact, all of them actually, were all enlisted men. And as such, anything higher than 200 was redeemed as a symbol of stating that they were drafted, when in such, all these men had enlisted. Their infamous nicknames were the Harlem Hellfighters, as well as the Men of Bronze and the Black Rattlers, mainly because of their heroic type stand, or in this case, their patch, which is of the rattlesnake. One of their most famous mottos is, "Don't tread on me," and the infamous, "Let's go." Although there is another one which I am not going to actually put out into major forms, because one, I am Catholic. In fact, their active combat roles started on July to November of 1918. During the early parts of their enlistment inside the United States military, they were actually mostly used as supply lines or labor units, until later on being pushed into military active service into the French military due to segregation. It was actually under the military commander of William Hayward who actually pushed for this entirely. It's actually stated that while they were in the French military service, they had to switch out their military equipment and firearms for French weaponry and new equipment, mainly because of the fact is, this was all that the French needed, and the ones that they could actually use. And in such, in May of 1918, a famous event had actually taken place when two men, Private Henry Johnson and Private Needham Roberts, were said to have been attacked by a group of 20 to 30 Germans who attacked the two at night while they were on guard duty. In a dug-in position, while listening for the enemy, a sniper nearly killed Johnson, in which both men could hear the sound of wire cutters being snipped on the barbed wire fences, which was just right in front of them. This is when the Germans then started to press their advantage and attack. Johnson and Robert were stated to have actually lobbed grenade after grenade at the German forces, and in such, even fired into the blank open darkness, mainly because they couldn't see what was right in front of them. While badly injured, Johnson was holding off the Germans alone after Roberts had been grievously injured. Johnson was said to have loaded the wrong type of rounds into his French rifle, mainly because it stated that he would probably actually still had the American manufactured 30-06 round, that which was meant for the Springfield bolt-action rifle. And so, he actually had to resort of using the weapon as a club, after he saw a German trying to take Roberts as a prisoner. Johnson would later battle on using nothing more than a bolo knife, killing 4 German soldiers, and wounding several others. The Germans were stated to have fled after they realized the reinforcements were starting to come across the bridge. In his heroic stand, these men were later awarded the Pedre Guerre, the French Medal of Honor. Another example could be of Corporal Thomas Miller, who held his position after he saw that many of his fellow Harlem Hellfighters had been badly injured and grievously wounded. It's later stated that Miller actually took up a German-manufactured MG08-15 machine gun and ended up using it as a light suppressive fire weapon. It stated that he charged headlong into ferocious melee combat with the Germans in their own trenches, almost acting like a German stormtrooper, and in such, mowing down German after German soldier. It's later reported that he had actually killed at least 15 with one full burst of his machine gun. And such, he even yelled out the battle cry, "Let's go!" encouraging many of his fellow Harlem Hellfighters to push the advance. It's actually stated that because of this, he had actually charged headlong into the ferocious melee, far further than any of his other comrades. And such, he would actually die due to a sniper shot to his head, after his helmet had been knocked from his shoulders. The Harlem Hellfighters would also see major combat during the Champagne de Marais campaign, and as well the Meuse-Argonne offensive. During the Meuse-Argonne offensive, It's actually stated that they had captured town after town from German-held forces, and as well even held off massive German assault to retake many of these said towns, resulting in 700 men leading up to only 150 of active combat duty left to fight. On September 30th, it's actually stated that they captured a key German railway system, cutting off German supply lines. And on November 18th, it's actually stated that they were the first Allied unit to ever reach the Rhine River. In all of the military battlefields, it's actually stated the Harlem Hellfighters spent 191 days in combat, far longer than any U.S. military unit in the entire war. It's also been stated that they had never lost a foot of ground and never took a man prisoner. The service roll of the said Harlem Hellfighters was up to 200,000. However, the combat roll was actually only 42,000. After World War I, these men were actually hailed as heroes in a massive parade, which, with them leading the way, even changed the minds of many of having black soldiers in the military forces. However, this would not be the end of the said Harlem Hellfighters. Later on in history, it's actually stated that the Harlem Hellfighters would be reorganized into the said 93rd Division in 1942, and which were stated to have seen many roles played part in the said Pacific Ocean, such as in the southern Philippines and as well as the northern Solomon Islands. However, their most active role was during the time of the New Guinea campaign, which they had to retake areas from the said Japanese. And in such, though, it is stated that most of the time they were actually only used as labor forces or as well as a safeguard unit, just in case the Japanese ever thought to return to the island. And in such, they actually kept fighting off against major Japanese raids. In other words, those Japanese soldiers that were still left on the island had to be dealt with by the 93rd Divisions, in which they actually stated to have never actually took a man prisoner, and which kind of actually is their heroic symbol. To this day, though, the Harlem Hellfighters are one of America's most forgotten yet most beloved heroes. The reason I say forgotten is because of one major thing, in detail. Many people do not remember the Harlem Hellfighters as they once were, and in such, more than half of the United States military forces actually don't have a heroic type form for them. In fact, hardly any medals of honor were ever given to them during the time of World War I or World War II. However, by the time of 2004 and as well to the 2016 and even the 2018, many of their heroic symbols of honor had actually been reopened, and as which many of them were given high medals of honor from the United States government. And in such, many times over, they were even given Bronze Stars, Purple Hearts, and many more. Hundreds of medals that of which they had so desperately earned. To this day, they are one of my favorite of the United States infantry during World War I, mainly because of the fact that they are awesome beyond measure during World War I, and even charged headlong into ferocious melee, even though that they were badly outnumbered and badly outgunned. Yet, they proved everybody wrong about them. In fact, the Germans had a high regard for them, mainly because calling them Hellfighters is what they would actually call their said motto. Seeing the fact that they fought ferociously in the melee of hell, they later gave them that name. And such the Germans had such a high honor for them, he would actually later write about a book about them called The Black Panthers. That's right, there was actually a book about them called The Black Panthers in Germany by a World War I veteran who wrote about him. However, just like with the said infamous Black Swallow of Death, it's actually stated that the Germans during World War II, or probably before World War II, were actually destroying these books mainly because it did not agree with Adolf Hitler's beliefs. And in such, we can understand that the fact is, Black Panthers would not be remembered that much in Germany until long after World War II. In such, though, the book never fully sold in America, nor did it in Germany. However, it highly got sold in France and as well and in England. Hopefully you loved this video, y'all. Like and subscribe for more videos, and as well also pretty much stay tuned for more on the Black History Month videos. We will be getting into more of them very soon, and hopefully y'all can actually see our next ones in the very short comings during this time month in February. Anyways, guys, hopefully see y'all in the next one. Like and subscribe for more, and as well, also, if you have any ideas for another Black History Month video, let me know in the comments below. Anyways, I have been Celtic Templar. Have a great day.